Well, hello and welcome to Thought for Thursday. I am so happy to have you with us today. Welcome to Thought for Thursday, which is a segment of Leveling Up the Podcast, which starts a brand new season next month. And I'm so excited about it. So stay tuned for details. But the Thursday night episode called Thought for Thursday focuses on pain points that we all may encounter. I come to you for 15 minutes, bringing up a topic that we could definitely use some clarification and support around. And before you leave this broadcast, you will have 5 actionable tools that you can put to use to bring resolution, to bring results that you can cherish and work towards getting to a better place, getting to the better you, getting to that reinvented place that I so frequently speak about. As you know, we have been covering reinvention. Coming up will be, when it's completed, it will be a total of about 12 weeks. And we did all the core work initially. And now we're in career. We're talking about the things that you do and what a reinvented career may look like. Last week, we talked a little about, or the week before perhaps, we talked about how is it that you may know when you need to undergo some type of career reinvention? When you get up and you find it difficult to put your feet on the other side of the bed or on the floor. When you get up and you say, I really just don't feel like doing this day, or why am I doing this day? All of those are some signs that maybe some type of reinvention needs to take place. And then we talked about the steps that you definitely have to have in place in order to make sure that you are primed, that you are set to do the reinventing, to make the changes, whatever is necessary, so that that career will look different for you, so that it will be in alignment with what you truly desire your career to look like. Well, tonight we're going to talk about something else that's very, very important to reinvention in the career arena, and that is building the brand for your career pivot. We've talked about the need to pivot and recognizing that, and the need to go ahead and make changes. Well, you need a brand that's going to reflect that pivot, right? It's going to reflect where you want to be, where you're trying to go, what you truly desire. So we're continuing our walk. And we'll talk about this just again for 15 minutes. And we're focusing on one, again, of the pieces that is very important in making sure that you're going to get on target. If you're reinventing your career, you're changing fields, perhaps, you're starting a business, and you're thinking you don't need a new brand, well, you are very much so mistaken. Let's stop right there and refocus and focus in on what it is that you need to do to absolutely have that new brand. Because in today's world, your brand is how people experience you. It's not only what they see, but the experience that you bring. So remember, you want to make sure that you that you have an impression that is authentic, one that you really want to be you. And in order to do that, you have to make sure that your brand has the elements in it that are going to accentuate your authenticity. And when you're starting fresh, particularly in the mid-years, ladies, and I talk to a lot of ladies who are in their mid-years and making some transition, you need clarity, don't you? You need the confidence, you need the visibility, all the things that you need in order to make that pivot and be successful in getting to the destination that you're trying to get to once you've made that pivot. Once you've made that turn, decided that you need to do things differently, you've got to make sure that your brand reflects, again, where it is that you want to go. So what is your brand? I've been talking about your brand. So it's what people say about you when you're not in the room. It's that impression that you leave. It is how people feel after they've had an encounter with you. It's what people see, when you are in the room. And it's what they remember, again, when you have left out. It's the consistent message that you bring. Your presence will give off that message. And that's why we say, you know, what is it, or how do things look once you leave the room? That's what your brand is. It's not just in your job title. It's not just in what you do necessarily, but it's, for example, the energy that you bring to what you do, that authenticity that I've been talking about that you bring to what you do, your voice, your values, and all the things that you bring, again, that really say, hey, this is me. This is who I am. This is what's important to me. So if you're pivoting in your career, you're in many instances kind of reintroducing yourself. You're kind of moving away from that old perception, or perhaps that old brand, and reintroducing people, reintroducing yourself in a brand new environment, as a brand new entity, so to speak, something different from what they have seen and experienced before. So how is it that you can do that? I'm going to give you 5 clear and really practical tips for really building a good personal brand. That's what we're talking about as you reinvent your career. You want a good brand that says, this is who I am, this is where I'm going, this is what I want to be, this is where I'm growing, whichever stage of this process that you're in. So what is one of the first things that you can do? Well, what's very important is you have to have a very clear understanding on who you are now, not what you've done, although all of that is very important. Perhaps who you were, where you're moving from. All of that is important. And I don't want to say that it's not, because those are some of the things that you're using. Those are the transferable skills that you may have developed over time that you're going to use in reinventing. But you have to be clear on exactly where it is that you want to go. Chances are you may already know where you are. So the first step, of course, like I've just been saying, is that clarity. You can't communicate what you haven't taken time to really define and to figure out. So it's important to get rid of the fog. And I frequently talk about the fog, and the fog sometimes happens just because of where we are in life. It could be, physical things that are causing us to be in a fog sometimes. It could be being, bored, or mediocrity that has caused us to be in a fog because we've just gotten settled in what it is that we see and what it is that we do. Well, we need to get rid of that because we need to be clear. So the action step, I have an action step for you in how to do this. What I want you to do is write a brand statement for yourself. Fill in the blanks, and I'm going to give you a sentence or two in which you can fill in the blanks. I help or serve or support blank. You fill in the blank by doing blank so they can blank. All right. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. Don't put a whole lot of over analyzing into it. You want it to really reflect who you are. You want, in many instances, you immediately know what that may look like because your gut tells you who you are. So again, I help, I serve, I support. You fill in the blank who that is. By doing, you fill in the blank with what you do so they can, you fill in the blank. Keep it simple and grounded again in who you are becoming, not just who you've been. Second thing, align your purpose or align your presence with your purpose. Align your presence with your purpose. What do I mean by this? So your brand should really match the direction that you're headed, because that's what this is all about. That's what, reinventing and doing a new brand means. It really should look a lot like where you're going. So if you're shifting careers, launching something new, or reintroducing yourself professionally, however that might look, Your presence online and offline should really reflect that. So look, for example, at these things. And we talked about the importance of updating some of these already, but we're back again talking brand, and really these things fall in alignment with those as well. Make sure that you're looking at your LinkedIn profile, your email signature. If you have a jazzy tagline, make sure that that tagline is reflecting who you are and where you're going. All right. Your resume. These are all things that I also call your marketing documents, because they are just that. Your website, or your social bios for those in business, your website, how you introduce yourself at networking events. All of these kinds of things really are what you need to look at when you're making sure that presence and purpose are matching up. So what else do you need to do? Make sure that you share what you know. When you're doing your brand, it's important for you to make sure that the brand says what you know. So it reflects who you are. It says what you know. It reflects your purpose and your passions aligned. What do I mean when I say share what you know? It's not built overnight, first of all. All right. So, and it's really kind of built through consistency. So you don't have to post every day or be everywhere. And I know there's some discussion around that. And I guess I should say, depending upon perhaps what it is that you're doing, if this is personal for you, if you're talking business, sometimes it is important to get out there and post, particularly when you are building your business and you want people to get to know you. But you do need to start showing up. So, for example, making sure that I'm here on Thursday nights is important. And those who are familiar with Thought for Thursday know that I will be on here every Thursday night at 7, because I have set a pattern for doing that, and I'm going to show up. People expect to see you where you say you're going to be. People expect you to do what it is that you say that you're going to do. So for many people, something like this may be starting small. Maybe you want to post 1 to 2 times a week on LinkedIn about the area of focus, where you're focused. Make sure that you're sharing your insights, any lessons learned. People like to see authenticity. Lessons learned mean that you've gone through some things, you've got some experience, and you're sharing about that. Make sure that you comment thoughtfully on other posts, or as people respond to posts that you put up. Now, when doing all of this, even that can be overwhelming when you're dealing with 2 or 3 different platforms: LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. Maybe you want to choose one. If you're doing business, I always recommend LinkedIn. Pick that one platform and show up consistently for the next 30 days. Let that be the exercise, the action steps that you take right now to make sure that you're sharing what you know and that you are being consistent in doing so. What else can you do? Leverage your story. My goodness, who you are, what you've done, what you've learned, where you've been, all of that it's key information in developing your brand, in telling what you know, in showing who you are, and letting people understand your purpose and your passion, and in you knowing that purpose and passion. Your story, I always say, is for you. However, others can grow and are helped based on your experiences and the things that you share. Your story is a superpower. When you're reinventing your career, you may feel the urge to kind of downplay where you've been. Don't do that. That's the very thing that makes your brand authentic. The vulnerability sometimes that you have felt along the way. Those hard lessons that are lessons that may scar you going forward, but the scars are things that you learn to appreciate because they remind you not to go in this direction again. So your story is powerful. It's power for you, and it's powerful for others. People don't always just connect with your credentials, but they definitely connect with your journey. And I'll say that again. They don't always connect with the letters behind your name, the degree that you have, but hearing your journey, hearing your story is a connection for them, is a piece that brings about that connection, because chances are in hearing the story, they can relate to it in some way as it may have touched their life. All right. So what is the last thing that you can do in order to make sure that your brand is reflecting who you are? You need to own your value. You need to own your value. Realize you have value and own your value. You can't build a brand if you keep hiding your brilliance. You can't build a brand. At one point, I did a talk on the many different ways that you hide, the many different ways that you really kind of put a sack over your light, so to speak. And one of them is being used to staying in the background and pushing everyone else forward for the efforts that you've done and that you really need to begin to take credit for. If you're unsure about what you bring to the table, everyone else is going to be unsure too. So this, it doesn't mean that people may not have recognized what it is that you do, but this is the time to really kind of push that forward, because you are reintroducing yourself. This is not the time to shrink. It's the time to stand in your truth. It's incredibly important for you to do that. So what's an action step for that? Well, practice, your I help pitch. We already talked about that pitch earlier. Maybe practice that. Say it out loud a few times this week. Say it in the mirror. Say it to a friend. Ask them how they feel when they hear you say that. Get comfortable with this new identity that you're building and start moving like you've grown. All right. Start moving like you are going into this space. It's a space that you are comfortable with, and it is a space that you are ready to own. So as I wrap this up, the next version of your life isn't about pretending. I've talked about the authenticity already. It's not about pretending to be someone you're not. It is about showing the real you. It's about becoming more of who you truly are, because reinvention really 9 out of 10 involves that. It involves turning away from something that has not been profiting you, that has not been helping you, and moving into a space that really looks more along the lines of what you feel, how you feel that you contribute, the value that you actually do bring. It means that pivot into a space where you can own your true authenticity and put that in place as you reinvent what it is that you do professionally. All right. So some ways in which you can brand, some ways in which you can make sure that where you are going is truly reflected in your interactions, in your communications, in what it is that you do, because all of that will be very important and critical to the success of this career reinvention that you're undergoing. Thanks so much again for listening. If you need more information, do me a favor and go ahead and text more to 240-789-4299. We can talk about doing an in-depth study, doing some closer work, so that we can make sure that this whole process for you is going to be effective. You may have done it many, many times, but we want to make sure that in this iteration, you are going to be successful. And that involves some very specific and perhaps some detailed work that you're not going to get just from these 12 weeks that I have been bringing to you. So just text more to 240-789-4299. Now go out and touch something. Be authentically you. Know that you bring value. You have a voice. You have something meaningful to say. People need to hear from you. It's meaningful not just for you, but it is meaningful for the impact that it will make in the lives of others, the impact that it will make in the world. Do not devalue yourself. Do not look down on where you are and see where you've been and figure you can never get to where you want to be, because nothing is further from the truth. Reinvention has no age, it has no time limit, and it has no definitive stop period. Same as no time limit. In other words, it's never too late to reinvent. All right. Thanks again for listening, and have a great rest of the day, evening, whichever part of the day you're listening to this.